This story was born with an idea that Mel had about an American in a Mexican prison. Um, that in itself is a realistic story. So knowing the parameters where we were going to move in, which is a commercial piece, we thought it was a perfect opportunity to show this in a way that hasn't, hopefully, we think, has not been seen uh, in this light before. The realism just came about because, in our research, we came across this particular prison that existed and exists in Mexico, and so it was easy to imagine the reality, and then obviously everything fell into place in terms of location and art department and wardrobe and casting and extras, just to make everything come through realistically in this fantasy world, which there is some of it. The story takes place in Mexico, and it's a place where we feel comfortable, where it's our home. So we know our perspective on it is both from the inside and from the outside. We know how people from the outside see Mexico. So I think we are able to see both worlds. And it was very easy for us, having worked and lived in Mexico for so many years, that to understand how to get what we needed in all senses, in finding locations and finding the extras and finding the casting. It was much easier for us to do that in Mexico. The story takes place in the Tijuana prison called El Pueblito, which is the state penitentiary at La Mesa. And we scouted a few prisons, 3 or 4 of them. We actually saw this prison, El Penal de Allende, when it was active, and immediately we all loved it. I mean, immediately we knew this was the place, and the Veracruz government was in the process of moving these prisoners out of that prison. That prison, for a number of reasons, was inadequate, inhabitable. So it sort of, timing was a great thing in that case. We just fell, it just happened at the same time we needed it. So they cleaned it up and gave us the keys, and here you go, you're home. The character's named Driver, but when you add the name Mel to it, you already know what he's going to bring to the table, and it's we talked about the fact that he's an outsider, but this is actually the place, and that's what I was saying before. This is actually a place where he feels very comfortable in this, because he's allowed to do everything he does outside inside. There's no rules. The rules are different. It takes him a little bit to figure out what those rules are, but once he understands them, he actually recognizes them. And they're not, some of those rules are similar to what his private rules are anyway. So it fits in with him. And the idea that he's inside, but he's surrounded by elements from the outside world. The fact that there's children, and there's vendors, and there's a pharmacy, and there's a video club, and there's basically it's a small society. So he takes advantage of it very well. There were a couple of things in this movie which we liked from the get-go. Is one, you don't know where he's coming from. 2, you don't know where he goes. 3, you don't know his name. And as a matter of fact, you don't know any of the main characters. The good guys, you don't even, there's the kid and the kid's mom and Driver, and that, you don't know their names. And, we always thought that was really cool, that, you don't have to know their names to understand them and feel for them. And he's just, Driver's just a guy who's in different places at different times, and he adapts wherever he is. So it doesn't really matter where he comes from, what he's running from. It doesn't matter. every time I see the movie, and then when we all wrote it, what we liked about the kid and the driver is, and it shows in the movie, is how this relationship, it almost doesn't draw attention to itself. The fact that he's offering cigarettes to a kid, the fact that they're talking about murder in the most common way, and Mel giving him advice, the driver giving the boy advice on how to do it, and actually, once they bond, he's like, oh, I'll help you out, and the kid takes this as normal as he would take anything, any other normal occurrence in his daily life. He's not particularly surprised by it, or his own backstory is pretty crude, so he welcomes the fact that somebody's actually taking him seriously, being a boy that, he does want to kill this guy, and why he wants to kill him, and why he hates him, and he has a relationship with somebody finally who doesn't treat him like a boy, and understands him, and actually is willing to help him, and that came across really well with both of them. Kevin was a jewel to find him, and he fit in perfectly, and he was fantastic. The first time I ever worked as a director, period, and to be able to do it with Mel it's surreal. I've always believed in luck, not only in hard work, but in luck, and I think I'm a lucky person. I've always been, and I came into this movie because Mel offered it to me. It wasn't an idea that I had or something that I was pushing, and that's what he's like. Why he asked me, I have no idea. I don't know, but I thank him for it. And obviously, I had learned a lot from him as a director, being his assistant. But it's a different ballgame once you're both behind the camera, and he was incredibly supportive throughout the shoot, and he understood where I was coming from, and allowed that relationship to grow, as opposed to bottling it up or wanting to take control of everything. Not at all. I mean, he's never been like that in any capacity. He enjoys the participation, the collaboration effort, and this was no different. He understands himself so well, and how he's portrayed in front of a camera. He knows, his body movements, his eyes. He knows exactly what to do when. So in terms of his direction, it's definitely more of a collaborative effort, because he also co-wrote the script, and we worked on this for almost 2 years now. That it was innate how his character should be on screen, and there were never any arguments about saying, no, this is what Driver would do, or this is what Driver would do. We always agreed on what he would do. Sometimes we took it, in different directions and tried a couple of different things, but the main focus never varied, because of the deep collaboration that we had in it. It was not an issue trying not to make cliches out of it, because I know the country, I know the people, I know who they are and how they react. There's the characters have traits, the wardrobes, some of the things they say are kitsch Mexican, which is different, and it's a style that fit those particular characters in this particular movie, and they know themselves as well, and it was great the collaboration with the Mexican cast was great because they understood who they were right away. I think one of the things was making these action sequences, uh, trying to give them a personality of their own. I think the car chase at the beginning, we hadn't seen anything like that before. And, you know, the idea of having the wall and the chase on either side, in itself just makes it, I think, unique, you know. And then having the ability of shooting with certain toys to make it as fast as possible obviously helped. In terms of the shootout, you know, we always thought Sergio Leone, it has to be fun. There's a lot of blood, there's a lot of people dying in that shootout, but it has to be funny. And you know, that was a big thing, shooting it and editing it, the music, it's just a funny scene. Even though, you know, people die in it. But, you know, every time we watch it, we laugh. We laugh our asses off. It's hilarious. And I think that's part of not only the action scenes, but the movie, even though there's serious things that happen in this movie and things that might not be agreeable to everybody to watch, they're coated and surrounded by comedy. Sometimes it's dark comedy, but there's always something there to try and grab a grin off of the audience and say, you know, it's bad, but it's not that bad. It's just a movie. You can laugh.